Thanks for joining today. I just wanted to do a quick progress video about what happens when I make wood signs. I thought I might as well give everyone some tips to do this on their own if they ever wanted to try it. It's actually a lot easier than you think. So we're gonna go ahead and start off like we usually do by talking about materials that we need. So here's the stain that I like using. It's from Home Depot. It's like $4 for a small 8-ounce can. This thing has lasted me for quite some time. I just bought a big one recently, so it's gonna be a long time before I need to get more, but the espresso color is normally what I do all of my signs in. You're also gonna want just an old disgusting rag. Actually bought a pack of rags from Home Depot to use for your staining. I'm not going to demonstrate that on this video, but you basically just dip it right into the stain and you rub it on the wood to get the desired color that you want, and then you have to wait at least 8 hours for everything to settle and dry. I also do a little bit of sanding on my boards just on the end after I get them cut. It's just common board from Home Depot. They cut it in-house for you, and so that's what I use to make pretty much all of my signs. Today we're gonna work on a just married sign. So out of these sketches, she liked the second married and the first just. So I'm gonna be using those on the sign. And then I also have a white pencil here that can be used for drawing your outline. I do it really lightly because I don't want it to be too difficult for me to erase. And this is the marker that I'm using today. I actually normally use a different brand, but that one's a little low. I usually use Elmer's paint pen. They come in a bunch of different tip widths, which is really nice and helpful. I keep a little piece of scrap paper here as well so that I can get the ink flow good when I'm working with the pen. So looking at these two, I'm just going to go ahead and lightly write on the board. The good thing about this is that if I mess up, I can erase and start over. And then I'm going to do a couple florals. Alright, next I'm going to go in with my paint pen that I have here. I always take this piece of paper and I open this. I kind of push down to make sure that the ink is coming out, especially when you have a new pen like this. You're really going to have to push a couple times, sometimes for up to a minute before anything starts coming out. So we've got good ink flow there. So then I slowly just start going over the lettering. And I decided I wanted the letters a little more to the left when I was looking at it. And I do all of the lines thin the first time around, and the second time around is when I go back in to add the thicker parts of the lettering to give it that calligraphy look. So I go back in then and fill in just keep in mind that I do a couple layers of this to get the desired opacity that I want. It doesn't always look super opaque off the bat, so I normally go in and fill in extra parts of the sign again that I want to look more opaque. And even though this isn't the desired marker that I usually use, this is probably my second choice. I've seen people use Sharpie oiled base pens before. I haven't had very much luck with those on wood. I see people use them on glass all the time. I have yet to try that out. Also, another quick tip, since I'm left-handed, I'm actually keeping my arm above the wood most of the time to make sure that I don't smudge anything. And when I work on making my lines darker, I actually sometimes work backwards and I start over on the right side and work to the left so that I can fill in and keep moving this way when the other ink is already dried, to make sure that I don't smudge any new ink that I'm adding on. Once again, I'm going to go back in and fill all of this stuff a second time. I try to make sure that my thick and my thin lines are the same throughout the lettering. So like this I want to make sure has similar width to these letters over here, because you don't want one word having a different thickness than your other words. We want everything to look cohesive. Now the one funky thing about this pen that I'm not a huge fan of is that sometimes it does not like going over the other ink that originally dried. Sometimes I struggle with that and it like smears some of it off, so that takes a little bit of extra patience when working with this brand of marker. You'll be a lot less frustrated if you really let things dry in between your coats. Like I said, the lettering definitely still needs another coat, but I will go ahead and create the flower designs. And just remember that slower a lot of the time is better. Better to take your time and be patient than to try to rush things. That's my struggle sometimes. I'm sometimes not very patient when I create things. because I want to see it get done. Here is the almost finished product. I went over the lettering another time. This is actually one of the problems though that I have with this markers, and it's a little more streaky than the other brand that I usually use. I've yet to fix this mark up here. I'll use sandpaper for that. But overall, I think it's starting to look pretty good. So leave any comments below if you have any other questions about anything. I'm Eliza Ann Calligraphy on Instagram, so feel free to find me there and follow along on the other things I'm doing on my day-to-day basis.